This is Camnet News. Thank you so much for choosing us. My name is Sharon Kalimbula. The top stories on our desk this evening: the church advises politicians to use Easter as a reflection and a reconciliation period. Government's failure to manage the staple commodity worries MUNDUBILE. TIZ speaks against appointment system of judges by the president. In international news, UN deeply troubled by Burkina media clampdown. And in sports news, Copper Queens suffer humiliation defeat from South Korea.
On Monday, 10th April 2023, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chilua with his guest, the FTD President, Madam Edith Nawakwi, at exactly 20:45 hours as they discuss agriculture, the economical salvation for Zambia. Empowerment is the way to go.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
The news in detail. Residents of Lundazi district in Eastern Province have expressed concern at the manner in which the water crisis is being handled by the authority. The residents have disclosed to Camnet News that for almost 3 days now, the area has had no water despite several attempts to report the situation to relevant authorities. Nothing has been done. They have further disclosed that due to the water crisis in the area, they have resorted to fetching water from filling stations where there are at times just from doing so. Let's look at this.
Imagine spending half of your life without access to water. This is a situation that residents of Lundazi district in Eastern Province have endured for almost 4 days now. Water crisis in the district is a continued challenge faced by the residents, despite several complaints made to address the situation. The residents have described the situation as a serious crisis that needs urgent attention, as they have resorted into fetching water from the filling stations.
3 days in the filling station.
Meanwhile, the residents have also expressed concern on the electricity situation in the district.
Sometimes
Malite is a problem. Malite is a problem because it's a tijera malite. Mwe tijera malite, so malite ngachikuli benishi. No wino ma families.
Tamechi chitika chakuti line yathu ya malite anapanga kudala koma safu na kuti atithandize msanga kuti ma problem asile. Ni chimini ngati avutitsana wana. Na ambiri amene tivutikira mu kumozi. Ena nkuchipata amene apitirira kumozi kufa chifukwa cha vuta malite.
According to Sustainable Development Goal number 6, by 2030, Zambia needs to achieve in improving access for billions of people to clean water and sanitation.
Electricity in Lundazi has been there for quite some time. So we just want to appeal to the government through our Member of Parliament to consider connecting us in the already done national grid that needs only just some connectivity using the wiring. Because this problem, I think it is more worse than it used to be in the past years. In the recent time, we've seen a number of power outages, which has caused a lot of economic activities that depends on power suffer. People are failing now to feed their families, even to pay rentals, and even sometimes to send their young ones to school. So we just appeal to our Member of Parliament, and because of the issue of electricity, we also feel that the water blues that we're experiencing in the district is a result of the same electricity. So really, we want the government to sort out these two problems that we have.
Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Zambia Fire Brigade Friday morning managed to put out a fire that almost swept through New Lusaka Soweto Market after the fire, whose cause is unknown, burnt down some mobile money booth. Traders at the market have expressed concern at the trend of fire at the market, stating that this is only a few weeks after a fire whose cause was also unknown burnt down 5 restaurants at the market, leading to the loss of thousands of kwacha in restaurant property. The traders have also called for sensitization on how to use fire extinguishers, stating that efforts to use available fire extinguishers from some shop owners proved futile as no one really knew how to operate one. They have, however, thanked the fire brigade for arriving on time to quench the fire before any massive damage could happen. Only 2 mobile money booths have been severely burned before the fire brigade completely put the fire out, while the rest of the market has remained untouched. Father of a 24-year-old man, Lloyd Kamukulu, has called for justice in the case of his son, Philemon Kamukule, who he says has been in police cells at Kalikiliki police post for over 1 month without being taken to court after he was implicated in a community theft on the 4th of March 2023. Speaking to Camnet News, Mr. Kamukule says his son, along with his friend named Emmanuel Mulenga, were pointed out by some community members as being behind the theft of a bicycle and some chitenge materials from a shop in Mtendere East that happened in the early hours of the said morning. He has accused police at Kalikiliki police post of torturing the duo, stating that his son's friend currently has a fractured leg. Let's look at this.
The Zambia Police Service has often found itself under criticism from stakeholders like human rights activists for alleged torture of suspects in police cells and prolonged detentions without the suspects being taken to court. This is Kalikiliki police post in Lusaka, where 2 suspects of theft in Mutendere East compound are allegedly being kept since 4th March 2023 without being taken to court. Father of one of the victims, Lloyd Kamukule, explains that his son Philemon Kamukule, aged 24, and his friend Emmanuel Mulenga, aged 25, were on 4th March 2023 accused of stealing a bicycle and some chitenge materials from a shop in Mutendere East compound, and were apprehended after being pointed out by some community members. He alleges that the duo are being tortured in the police cells, adding that his son's friend Emmanuel Mulenga currently has a fractured leg but has not been taken to any hospital, nor have the suspects been taken to court since then.
Na vinto che fammi va a viri kuti pari bena fammi viri to vantuana ko so manje vavuta vitu because ujamwini ujawa shop tukakamba naye, there is no proper communication na tinapanga milandu zinango because shiribu no gas life titamambe to the voice of the voiceless wamene wanga tikambire ku family kuto wantinga ite yonda wa say that let's proper media but tangize kuti vere shiribu no kansi sisi wanga twana miranda bawapeleke kusogoro ngakumangi wamangi red coat ikachite decide utawa ngakawala.
Sister of Emmanuel Mulenga, Vera Mulenga, has also voiced her plea.
Nimaenda kumtochira noje kukalikilika hapa. Ayindo kumtocha. Nikwenda ngana mpeka pa kuja kukampewa, wano kupinda mula mendo, mwezo ndolira mwene wake. Anampinda mula mendo, mukunze pansi mendo kumwamba. Unaona? And by now one side kwenda hiyo maona kukini tiso mpeleka bana matitimba mpeleka kliniki so mpeleka mwana kwenda na shingo ya mwana soko nenda ukaenda msema mzaki ndio tukatili.
Meanwhile, Zambia Police Deputy Spokesperson Daniel Mwale says he will get to the bottom of the matter to ensure that justice prevails. Zipora Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Still in Kalikiliki, where some mothers have noted the need for more education programs in communities bordering on nutrition of children. Grace Nkata, who attended a nutrition program organized by Natural Resources and Development College students Friday, says mothers need to be educated on child feeding, especially how to make mixes of various food groups to make a nutritious meal for children of different age groups. The women have appreciated the program because the food that is being used during the demonstration is locally available. Details in this report.
In order to develop a lifelong health eating patterns, children need to be introduced to a variety of nutritious food in a positive manner. Friday, Zambia joined the rest of the world in commemorating World Healthy Day under the theme Healthy for All. Third-year nutritionalist student from the Natural Resources and Development College, NRDC, came up with an initiative to educate women in Lusaka's Kalikiliki compound on how to prepare various nutritious meals for their children.
Ya nutrition kutita kutipunzisana kuti ni vokudya babwanji vakuti vana vazidya very nutritious. Okay, kuti vana vazikula bwino titi zipewa matenda yambiri ayi. So if my third year students, my final students, my NRDC tabwera na team yemuona nje team yatu.
Those in attendance appreciated the program because the food that is being used during the demonstration is locally available, and so they can find it easily. The mothers were taught how to make vegetable, carpenter and chicken porridge, and also how to prepare yogurt using banana and sour milk, among others.
Iyi programu yamene vatiletera iyi izani thandizira kumwana zakula wantazi ndimuuzana azimayi tentike konzeri vamene atipunzisa ivi kuti tizimpikira bwino porridge yonse iyi. So imwe azimayi wamene mumvera tentike konzeru vonse vamene vatipunzisa apa.
Programu inayo ama ile ambo kutafundisha sana kayo mwana alambo kora healthy nepya kule fino kubatsambirisha tukara konko kumpangira pakuti mwana akore healthy atakwata vitamins na nutrients.
The program was voluntarily done by the students to help the community achieve a good nutritional profile for their children.
Came together and said we can at least participate in this year's World Healthy Day. So our coming together as NRDC, we wanted to contribute because when someone is affected, almost everyone is affected. Health is for everyone.
Our community in achieving a good nutrition profile for our children. So our target here has been children that are 6 months plus. We do know 6 months, this is when we do involve the weaning, the complementary feeding of our children. But then, most mothers do not know a variety of meals, to give these children. Okay, so for example, most mothers know, chicken cannot be given, chicken and vegetables, a baby cannot eat chicken and vegetables at 6 months. But what we are doing as nutrition technologists is that we are telling our mothers that whatever an adult can eat, a baby can also eat. But what really matters the most are just the preparatory stages that you administer to the food.
Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Two clergymen have urged Zambian politicians to use the Easter period to bury their differences and reconcile for the sake of unity in the country. Speaking to Camnet News, Apostles Council of Churches Programs Director Reverend Mwaona Zulu has challenged conflicting political stakeholders in the country to each make the first step, stating that it takes two to reconcile. Meanwhile, National Day of Prayer Organizing Committee member Reverend Solomon Mbolo has called for the strengthening of family bonds during this time, stating that reconciliation should also happen at family level. Zambia has joined the rest of the Christian world in commemorating Easter period from the 7th to the 10th of April 2023, which focuses on the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Zipporah Mshala filed this report.
In many democratic countries with a multi-party system, disagreements among political parties are expected due to different political ideologies on how to run a country. In Zambia, Opposition political parties like the former ruling Patriotic Front, which is the largest opposition party, have been cited as malicious in their checks and balances by the ruling United Party for National Development, UPND, while the PF have also been accusing the ruling party of witch hunting and arresting members of the opposition on false grounds of corruption, misuse of the freedom of expression, and tribalism. This has resulted in tension on the political scene, and dialogue between the two major political parties, which has been called for by the church and other stakeholders, has proved futile since the coming in of the current administration in 2021. As Zambia has joined the rest of the Christian community in commemorating the Easter period from 7th to 10th April 2023, the Apostles' Council of Churches is of the view that this is the time that politicians should put away the political differences and focus on uniting the country. Council Programs Director Reverend Maona Zulu was speaking to Camnet News.
This is why now we are calling upon the nation also to see to it that, number one, in the nation there is reconciliation, and also when it comes to political view where the politicians also are able to reconcile, because we are brothers and sisters. Remember that Zambia is a Christian nation. Therefore, we need oneness in this nation. And again, it's a time where we acknowledge our sins. We acknowledge that we have gone wrong somehow. Now, when it comes to unity, it takes two people, the one who has been wronged and the one who has wronged the other, both to agree to say, here I am wrong, here you are wrong. Then people are able to reconcile.
The National Day of Prayer Organizing Committee, through its member Reverend Solomon Mbulo, have also called for family unity.
At national level, we find that these issues of corruption and so on. Oh, what we need is to come back to God. I believe that this is the time we need to dedicate this nation back to God. Because God came for the mission to save mankind. And you know, there are about three things that I want to see happen in this nation. Justice. You know, the Bible talks about that where there's no justice, there's no righteousness. And where there's no righteousness, there's no holiness.
The country is currently under the Easter period, where Christians reflect on the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, resulting in the forgiveness of sins. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Zambians for Peace, Unity and Development, ZUPED, is disappointed at government's pace to conclude the discussion of Konkola Copper Mines and Vedanta. Organization President Ronnie Jerry notes that on the 5th of January 2023, his organization had petitioned government through the Minister of Mines and Minerals Development over the matter, to which they were assured that the last day of March will announce who has taken over the operations of the mines. Mr. Jerry says negotiations should not be perpetual, adding that the deadline should be put forth to ensure that the program starts running. He notes that the people of the negotiating team are disappointing, accusing them of being slow because they are benefiting from the negotiation process.
We are aware that whoever is sitting in these meetings where they are doing negotiations, to some extent they are getting some allowances, and this is at the expense of the taxpayers. And the more they prolong these negotiations, the more they are fattening their pockets, but impoverishing the Zambians. Right now, we are grappling with the dollar, which is still very unstable. And we all know for sure that opening up the mines will stabilize the dollar. So will stabilize the kwacha. The kwacha has been depreciating for quite a long time now, and this has been as a result of, you know, not having the mining sector function at its full capacity. We demand that the Minister of Mines and his negotiating team conclude as a matter of urgency and announce within a week who should take over Vedanta. Of course, our position as ANDD and ZUPED is that government should consider Vedanta as the only investor.
Now, as the country continues to witness minimal shortage in the wake of smuggling of the commodity, leader of the opposition in Parliament, Brian Mundubile, says the UPND administration must apologize to the Zambian people over expensive meal, which is not readily available, especially on the Copperbelt province. Mr. Mundubile, a PF presidential candidate, says the UPND promised affordable meal with increased support to farmers. He said he learned with concern the critical shortage of meal, especially on the Copperbelt, forcing the government to allow imports. Mr. Mundubile said government assured that all citizens were food secure by giving support to farmers under the Farmer Import Support Program because meal was a staple food. He said it was unfortunate that the UPND administration lifted the ban on the export of maize immediately they came into office.
Maize is Zambia's staple food, also known as the political crop, that grabs all the attention and distorts the discussion around crop diversification. The main responsibility of any administration has been to keep the price of the commodity within the reach of the majority poor Zambians, but over the years, the price has been increasing and is among attributes as to why the Patriotic Front PF is once again an opposition political party, given that now President Hakainde Hichilema, while in opposition, did promise cheaper meal, although the current situation seems to contradict the pronouncement. President Hichilema, since taking over office, pronounced that borders will never be closed for exports, with the lucrative market being offered in other countries such as the Democratic Republic of Congo. Everyone wants to export the commodity, which is fetching around 300 kwacha per bag, and citizens on the Copperbelt, among other towns, have also been buying meal at about 250 to 270 kwacha due to the high demand. The residents of Chirilabombwe on the Copperbelt recently shared their predicament on the issue of meal.
Eko na chipita pali gondana tina kuya mpoka pa checkpoint pali nsabunga wa mungupoka barakoba chokonkolo bungo ko burioro mutengo no mbunga ni 270 kuno nomba 270 funye kusoro pa Chirabombo pona chita 200 adora mbako fikubuteko baturolekesha pona fwe bene indara mashire shu poro ne milire tamone fintu na fikosa vilive fimbi so turamba ko butekwa kasaka fika bunga batu boisha ko torera ko emikushibiri
bunga buli pali 295 kwacha elo ifwe bashibomba tatule kwanisha kushitwa obunga ngatwaye bati tushitwa obunga kuchirira bombo ko buliko 190 kwacha ba nation service bale tupoka pa checkpoint abati muleto ala kusmagling bushe mukonkola te Mzambia nangu abena chimfunshi tebena Zambia nangu abekala kasumbalesa boda bushe tebena Zambia twapapa tatulelo mbako obuteko butwafwirisheko ukubwesha ko mutengo wa bunga ichabubiri ba nation service pala pa checkpoint pala bekala babaze shepo baba twaleko kuntanshi bakoye batu bale ikata bala abantu abale pusho obunga ukufuma mukonkolo okutwala mu mapanga mulya mukushitisha abo bale ikatanisha bale twala kusmagling.
And leader of the opposition in parliament, Brian Mundubile, says the UPND administration must apologize to Zambians over expensive meal. Mr. Mundubile said the UPND administration was warned on the dangers of food security but opted to ignore and continued to export the commodity.
Very sad that under the New Dawn government, a government that promised to make meal cheaper, to increase the quantum of support to the farmers, lowering the cost of living generally, has now brought about this situation where meal is so expensive, but on top of that, it's not even available. It is very, very sad indeed. Our government should step up efforts to ensure that they allow some more maize from the Food Reserve Agency to go to the millers. But that is if there's still maize at the FRA.
It must be noted that to help stabilize the prices, the Zambia National Service is selling the commodity at 175 kwacha breakfast and 155 kwacha rural meal, while millers under the Food Reserve Agency program are expected to sell the commodity below 200 kwacha. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Transparency International Zambia has called for transparency in the appointment of judges in the country. Organization Executive Director Maurice Nyambe has echoed constitutional lawyers John Sangwe's statement that there is lack of transparency in the way judges are being appointed. Mr. Nyambe tells Camnet News in an interview that there is need for more transparent processes in the appointment of judges. He notes that while the President has the right to appoint judges upon recommendations of Judicial Service Commission, there is need for more transparency and openness in the process. Mr. Nyambe recommends that the Judicial Service Commission should advertise the positions as a way of promoting transparency.
Is that we'll see an expedition of a lot of the cases that have been pending and a lot of the cases that have been dragging. But having said that, I think that the issue of how judges get appointed is something that we really need to give a lot of attention to. I do recall that a few years back, State Counsel John Sangwa raised concern around, the lack of transparency in the way that judges are appointed, and I think those are concerns that we share even as an organization. We think that it is important for there to be a more transparent process than we have in terms of how judges get appointed. Yes, the President does have the right to appoint upon the recommendation of the Judicial Service Commission, but I think that there has to be a lot more transparency and openness in how judges are appointed. So yes, it is good that these judges are appointed, and our hope is that it will expedite the dispensation of justice. But I think that the broader issue really that we need to look at is the lack of transparency within the process of appointing judges. And I think that as a country we need to turn our attention on this. That it is not even clear, for example, who starts the process, okay? Or what basis do the Judicial Service Commission have to even make whatever recommendations they make? I mean, do people just apply openly? Do people just, how is that process actually initiated? And so we think that it is unclear as things stand in terms of how that process gets initiated. Is it that the JSC just wakes up and decides to make a recommendation on somebody? I think that there needs to be a lot more clarity and a lot more openness and transparency in terms of how that process actually commences.
You're watching Camnet News. We take our first set of commercials. When we return, we have more interesting stories. Stay with us.
Camnet TV, in collaboration with Kawama Orphanage, invites you for a 2-day music festival on the 29th and 30th of April 2023. Time 10:30 hours to 18 hours. Venue Camnet Grounds opposite Hilltop Hospital in Kabulonga. Musical host Ruben. Charges 250 kwacha VIP, 100 kwacha ordinary, and 50 kwacha children. Get your tickets at CompuTickets. Come, let us support this orphanage together.
Nangula tata mwa kutali
On Monday, 10th April 2023, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chilua with his guest, the FDD President, Madam Edith Nawakwi, at exactly 20:45 hours as they discuss agriculture, the economical salvation for Zambia. Empowerment is the way to go.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
quest to serve nations and develop Africa, Savenda is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets, housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans, all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. Savenda Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think Savenda Farms.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying on. Monze Town Council Chairperson Powell Mutengona says he will engage the local contractors who have been awarded contracts under Constituency Development Fund to avoid cases of locals contracted to provide labor losing through non-payment of their dues. Speaking when he held a meeting with residents of Kaloba and surrounding areas in Katimba ward of Monze Central Constituency, Mr. Mutengona says the people who will be engaged for labor during the construction of the clinic will get all their dues in full. He says there have been cases of locals going to the council offices looking for contractors after they demobilized because they would have left some and paid labor bills, but that such will not happen under his watch. The civic leader has also called on the local stakeholders to be vigilant and ensure that the contractors do not do shoddy works, saying the clinic belongs to the people of Katimba, hence the need to supervise and supervise any wrong. Monze Council Chair was also in the company of Katimba Ward Councillor Brian Chingola as they toured the site for the clinic where residents have already done the foundation. About 430,000 kwacha was allocated for the clinic from the second quarter of the 2022 Constituency Development Fund from Monza Central Constituency.
Inini njo tujisija kuti balabasiya tababawo imani so twapa mali baromalita babapi bantu babere
semu chajagala kwa juma mnatamakwambo twase
but we call everyone bonse twenda tukaleka batanata yanjito
okay
tubaite bonse next week so that tubambeleja kujita kuti mbasama onka mu field we don't want to have my problems Kabo jijaira this way. No, manda kuba kabo tuenda mujonge kuni ukati babusi.
Mishizumira hu.
Tela bega nyodo.
Viro chargange no viro. Imbale na gogo.
Naje angambi.
No kuba nimpaties.
I'm going to engage building officer of education. I'm going to engage building officer.
I will be taking.
Each challenge is going to be but we have standard. Ya kumanda. Ona mwakuba stakambire mwanda help ya CDF. Kutitia ya kwakapo tutatuifandi.
Okay.
So mwere ucha engage ba building officer wa education
okay.
So that bamupamba bonini the plan.
Okay.
Bamupamba bo plan. So that no muyaga mwaba stack ngamambo tiyaga ba education ngamutuyungira tunzi. Oh council mutuyungira CDF.
Okay.
So kamutana mania mubajite engage.
Okay.
Tuyandabo ma plan we are doing it on our own.
Okay.
Kamu tupe plan yotu ngatupajita. Ningu 2 bedroom day.
3.
3 bedroom house. So mweba nambo ya ba 3. Yaje. Tutubama tongo bando tubona.
In other news, back home here in Lusaka, Kalikiliki Ward 35 Independent Councillor Shadrach Mwanza says people in his ward have continued to face difficulties in forming cooperatives due to long procedures. In an exclusive interview with Camnet News, Mr. Mwanza hopes that the procedure of forming and assessing the funds will be made easy to the locals. Meanwhile, Mr. Mwanza has also observed that some community members are lazy in forming the process and only want to receive without following the right procedures. He says money cannot be dispatched anyhow, as this will bring an audit query. He has since appealed to the residents to follow the right procedure and help prevent any audit queries.
I think basically what is happening now is, I would say people are facing difficulties in forming cooperatives due to the procedure that is there. And the other thing I've observed is we as a community are lazy to take a step. People only want to receive money. They don't want to follow the right procedure. Because, a situation where the government will just be giving money without following the proper procedure that is there, these things bring audit queries. So once you start doing shpante-pante, so my appeal to the residents is that please, if you hear that there are CDF programs and we tell you the procedure, follow the procedure, because that is the only way we can prevent audit queries.
More than 3,000 under 5 years children and 9,700 mothers of childbearing age are targeted to benefit from the nutrition project launched by the Hunger Project Zambia to be implemented in Chipangali District, Eastern Province. The project aims to fight malnutrition at household level as well as promote safe agricultural practices. Zanis has more.
Adequate nutritional feeding of children in various communities is a guarantee to fight malnutrition. The launch of the nutrition project by a non-governmental organization called the Hunger Project Zambia to be implemented in Chipangali district is one such initiative. Eastern Province Permanent Secretary Potole was represented by Chipata District Commissioner at the launch of the project in Chipata.
I am glad that the organization has expressed interest in implementing community-led nutrition project in Zambia, commencing with Eastern Province and Chipangali District in particular. This follows intensive meetings between the Ministry of Health, the Hunger Project Zambia regarding nutrition projects implementation, where a decision was made to implement the nutrition project in Chipangali District. Allow me to take this opportunity to thank the Hunger Project Zambia for initiating this project with an intention of ending hunger and poverty using a community-led development approach for Peking Eastern Province.
Hunger Project Zambia National Project Director Samuel Mtambo highlighted the objectives of the project.
We are going to start with certain inner activities, then later on we act. Like this year we may not have agriculture component related, but next year we are going to start micronutrients, production of micronutrient-rich crops. Agriculture component will be introduced. One, government, other partners, you can reach out to the communities in a very tangible way, and people will be able to say, yes, we are being assisted. But whatever you are doing should be led by the people themselves. We go to the communities to talk to the people. We hear how they live and tell us to say, if we feel like we can go this direction, not us to impose what we need to, what we have seen on them.
And Chieftainess Mkanda of the Chewa-speaking people in Chipangali district welcomed the project.
As Chipangali, we ought to take this program very serious. As we go back home, I'm sure we'll spread out so that we teach our people on food banking, so that we do not use more chemicals in the future. We have stopped using our local seeds, such as Chibawe, Milis. This year I have at least 2 acres.
Sylvester Shimba for Zanis in Chipata District, Eastern Province.
We take our second set of commercials. When we return, we have sports and international news.
on Monday, 10th April 2023, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chilua with his guest, the FDD President, Madam Edith Nawakwi, at exactly 20:45 hours as they discuss agriculture, the economical salvation for Zambia. Empowerment is the way to go.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying on. In international news, UN expressed deep concerns Thursday by Burkina Faso's increasing clampdown on media amid wider curbs of freedoms in the West African country. Burkina Faso recently expelled correspondents from the Liberian Le Monde newspaper in the latest move against French media by the junta ruling. Burkina Faso, which witnessed two coups last year, is battling jihadist insurgency that spilled over in 2015 from neighboring Mali, which is also run by the military. Since military junta leader Ibrahim Traoré seized power in September, the activists of all political parties and civil society organizations in Burkina Faso have been suspended. Media freedoms have been curbed, with the authorities suspending Radio France International and France 24 broadcast. Both RFI and France 24, which cover African affairs closely and are popular in French-speaking West African nations, have been suspended in Mali. Here is a roundup of international news.
UN expressed deep concerns Thursday by Burkina Faso's increasing clampdown on media amid wider curbs on freedoms in the West African country. Burkina Faso recently expelled correspondents from the Liberation and Le Monde newspapers in the latest move against French media by the junta ruling.
Nous sommes extrêmement inquiets par les nouvelles restrictions imposées.
We're deeply troubled by the new restrictions on media and civic space in Burkina Faso following the suspension of media outlets and the expulsion of two foreign correspondents from the country.
En cette période de transition, la protection et l'indépendance.
In this period of transition, protection of independent voices is more necessary than ever to enable scrutiny, to facilitate accountability, and to allow the space for the Burkinabe people to build a resilient, stable, and inclusive society together.
Résiliente, stable et inclusive.
Since military junta leader seized power in September, the activities of all political parties and civil society organizations in Burkina Faso have been suspended. Media freedoms have been curbed, with the authorities suspending Radio France International and France 24 broadcasts.
The United Nations says an industrial transformation is needed to close the growing development gap between countries and to achieve sustainable development goals. In the 2023 report on financing sustainable development released Wednesday, the UN says urgent investments are needed to accelerate growth, including in electricity supply, agriculture, and infrastructure.
In the face of these unprecedented challenges, we really must act with greater urgency and determination. We need a two-track approach. First, we must do the most with what we have to provide the needed relief. Second, and simultaneously, we must push for reform of the international financial system to make it equitable, resilient, and accessible to everyone. We're already seeing the biggest rethink of international finance, monetary, trade, and tax systems since the 1940s. And we have a window of opportunity to enact real and meaningful change.
The report finds that most developing countries lack the resources to invest, unlike their developed counterparts. It urges a rapid adoption of technology as a vehicle for industrialization, job creation, poverty reduction, and sustainable development.
Tunisia's President Kais Saied has rejected what he calls foreign diktat from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, which has installed talks with the heavily indebted country over a bailout package. On Thursday, Said told reporters in the coastal city of Monastir that foreign diktats will lead to more poverty, and as such, were unacceptable. The world must understand, as well as the financial institutions such as the International Monetary Fund, IMF, that human beings are not figures or a set of numbers for subtraction and addition. There is civil peace. We want the world to respect the will of the people. The IMF has pushed Tunisia to remove state subsidies on basic goods, particularly fuel. Moves to cut state support for essential goods have proved disastrous in the past.
Well, that's it for international news. We go straight into sports news. In sports, the Zambia women's national team gave away a 2-1 lead to lose 5-2 on Friday afternoon in an international friendly match away in Seoul, South Korea. A match characterized by blunders, miscommunication and poor judgment saw the hosts come back from 2-1 down to beat the COSAFA champions. The hosts started putting pressure on the Copper Queens and it paid off. Zambia plays South Korea again on Tuesday in a FIFA international friendly. Both teams are using the games as part of the preparations for the Australia-New Zealand FIFA Women's World Cup. Let's look at these highlights and the interview from Barbara.
What I can say about today's game is we started very well, but we just had some errors that we need to fix up as a team, because whatever we do, we have to do as a team. So we had some mistakes, and I think the coach is able to look into them, and I think we need to do our level best in our next game that will be playing. Everything is possible in football, because this was our first time playing against them, so I think we have some ideas on how they are playing and what we are supposed to work on.
I think we should work on defending, because attacking we try to do our best. Because of the poor defending, it was like everyone was coming down to defend instead of giving some players to help and go for counter-attacks. But you find out that when we go for counter-attacks, only few people are there because we had a poor defending.
Well, good luck to the girls for their next friendly encounter on Tuesday. That note brings us to the end of our news. The headlines once again. The church advises politicians to use Easter as a reflection and reconciliation period. Government's failure to manage the staple commodity worries MUNDUBILE. And TIC speaks against appointment system of judges by the president. In international news, UN deeply troubled by Burkina media clampdown. And in sports news, Copper Queens suffer humiliation defeat from South Korea. We'll look at the Camnet verse of the day, and it's coming from AMOS 5 verse 14, and it reads, "Seek God, not evil, that you may live, when the Lord God Almighty will be with you, just as he says he is." Thank you so much for watching Camnet TV. Happy Easter and enjoy.